love me and I love you.
Content warning. The stories and themes shared throughout this podcast may contain themes that can be distressing for you. If needed, please pause and do what you need to do to take care of yourself. If needed, please reach out to a mental health professional for support.
Welcome back to another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana, but I'm not with Alana today. I'm with my friend Erica. Erica is amazing. I met her at an Oscars week gifting lounge. I love everything that she's doing with Bold and Zeal, but beyond that, as a human, she is super rad. So I'm so honored that she's here today. Erica Bazerkanian, did I do it?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, is the co-founder and CEO of Bold&Zeal, leading the company with a deeply personal sense of purpose. The brand was inspired by the loss of her father, Jeff Stone, following a spinal cord stroke that left him quadriplegic, an experience that shaped Erica's commitment to resilience, advocacy, and intentional living. But long before launching Bold and Zeal, Erica committed herself to paralysis advocacy through sustained action. She has run 8 marathons in support of the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and though her own fundraising efforts and by recruiting and leading team hashtag I am Stone in her father's memory has helped raise more than $225,000 to expand awareness, funding, and impact. She's absolutely amazing. We're going to dive into her story. The links are in the show notes. You need to learn more about her, which is hopefully what we're going to do today during this interview. And the fact that you've run marathons and raised that much money is amazing. I run for the bus and I have an asthma attack. So that's great. Yeah. So welcome to the show, Erica.
Thank you so much. I'm really glad to be here.
So let's start off by talking about Jeff. Let's talk about your dad. Tell me about him. What was your dad like in your childhood and growing up with him? Take us into the world of Jeff.
He was fun. We now say he saw life through rose-colored glasses. He thrived on giving other people joy. So he was known for telling jokes. And at his memorial, I cannot tell you how many people got up and said, I will miss the call. Hey, did you hear the one about? Because he was always sharing jokes. Growing up, he was my biggest cheerleader, of course, along with my mom. But he had just a smile that lit up the room. He genuinely cared about other people, and we say he never met a stranger. Once you met him, you were his friend. So he was just a really kind, caring, funny individual. But he was also really into fitness. And so when we talk about what happened to him, it made it all the more cruel because he was a podiatrist by training and really believed in fitness. He was thought of as the fitness foot doctor. And so even the day before he had his spinal cord stroke, he was swimming, he played racquetball, he played pickleball. He taught my husband how to play racquetball and pickleball and brought that into our family. So he was a really healthy, otherwise healthy individual. And that's why it came as all the more shock what happened to him.
And first of all, that's amazing that he was like the fitness podiatrist. And it's so sad that, the spinal cord stroke basically took what he loved away from him and like being fully cognizant.
That was just insane. So, I mean, of
Okay,
course.
wait, why don't we back up? Can you walk us through? So like I don't know much about spinal cord strokes or what happens. I only have experience with my husband who like had a stroke in front of me but didn't know and he thought his foot was asleep and it was a minor stroke. So can you maybe walk us through like the sequence of events that happened?
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's not surprising that you don't know. we didn't know, and it even took several days to confirm it at the hospital because it's true, it's 1% of all strokes, so it's very, very rare. And then the severity of his was all the more rare. People can typically have some kind of recovery from it. So stepping back, I remember the day vividly, as there are certain days in our lives that we all just remember. It was the Monday before Father's Day, June of 2016, and I got a call from my mom. Dad has had either a heart attack or a stroke. We don't know. Um, and I'm thinking, okay, it has to be minor, because he's a super healthy individual. And I said, so is he okay? She said he was alive when they took him. So that obviously told me the severity of it. So he was at home, and thank goodness, because he was a doctor. He knew he felt numbing coming down his arm. He immediately took baby aspirin, and that is what gave us the time with him because they had to resuscitate him on site. But he literally collapsed at home. So that's why she thought heart attack or a stroke. So he felt it coming on at home. He collapsed. My mom obviously immediately called 911, and fortunately they were super close and they were able to resuscitate him and brought him to the hospital. It was after dinner time when I got the call. And my husband, of course, was across the country on a business trip, and I had my 4 young kids. And this is when your community rallies. 4 kids, I wasn't handing off to one person. I had 3 different people literally show up super fast, handed off the kids. I was on the last flight of the night out, and I was able to make it by midnight, and was there actually when he woke up. But it took several days, like I said, to diagnose. They were able to tell, obviously, it wasn't his heart. They knew it was some kind of impact on his spine, some kind of a stroke. But because they're so rare, the hospital didn't have the right diagnostic. So they were able to narrow it down to 2 different things: a spinal cord stroke, or something that is pressure, inflammation of the spine. They narrowed it to, which would have been the lesser of 2 evils. Of course, his ended up being a stroke at between C2 and C3, which is incredibly high. So he was immediately fully paralyzed, on a breathing machine.
And he was awake on the breathing machine.
It took a couple of days for him to become alert.
Yeah.
Obviously, he was obviously heavily sedated, and just everything he went through. But yes, for after the first, several days getting him stabilized, it took some time to get him stabilized. He was in the primary IC unit for 2 full weeks. Once they got him stabilized, though, they were able to trach him so that he has freedom of his mouth. We could try to read his lips, but yes, he was fully alert. And so it's essentially being trapped in your own body. I
Yeah,
mean, you
that's what
can't
was
move.
that's what was coming into my mind. Like, and you see it in the movies. Like, imagine like being alert, but all of a sudden you're not connected to your body. You can't move it. And I can't even imagine what that would have been like for Jeff. Also, I just want to acknowledge, like, I'm sorry you had to go through that, like, as a daughter, not being in the same part of the country
Yeah.
and hearing that news and having to manage a family and like arrange that and, you know, not knowing what's happening. That's a lot. That's a lot for you, your nervous system. So I just want to acknowledge, like, I am so sorry that that happened to your family and to you because it's a lot. It's a lot for the nervous system. And I think it's so beautiful that you got to be there for when he woke up.
Yeah.
And it's not this and that or this or that, but I mean, what a gift that you were able to be there and that he woke up. And it is so unfortunate that like this really rare stroke happened to him.
Yeah, and it was, thank you for all of that. I'm blessed that I was there, not only when he woke up, but that we had 5 months with him, that we could tell him what he meant to us, tell stories, show him videos and pictures of the kids as they were growing up over those months. And it was hard for them to see him, but they made pictures and videos, and we were able to share a lot, with him. And so that was a gift that it could have been taken away that night. And so the fact that
Right.
we had that time was really meaningful. But it was really wonderful that I was able to be there when he woke up. And my husband was on a plane and he met me that week. And he and my dad were very, very close. So that was special.
That is really special. And so he was only 71 years young. So you mentioned, and that was my next question, was like how long from when that happened? You said 5 months. Was he in the hospital that entire 5 months, or was he able to go do comfort care at home?
He couldn't go home because he required round the clock care. So he
Yeah.
went stage facilities. So after 2 weeks, he went to basically a care unit that was still barely a step down from an ICU. He required 24-hour care in essentially a longer term facility that was basically like an ICU care place. After, gosh, I can't recall now if it was 1 month, 2 months, he went to what basically a long-term care. So
Mm,
out of there into a longer term care unit that he had a semi-private room. So it wasn't like in an ICU setting, but it was basically 24-hour care. I mean, he couldn't do anything on his own. And certainly it wasn't the kind of care that anybody would be able to provide in the home. We looked into it. We wanted him to be anything that we could have done to get him there, but
yeah.
given how severe his was, for example, at one point in the long-term care, his oxygen levels were off, and he was getting carbon monoxide poisoning that we wouldn't have known in
Yeah.
his body just because of that. So they would be checking on him all of the time. So unfortunately, he couldn't come home. My mom, bless her, she was there by his side. I mean, she was a rock star through the whole thing.
That's great that he was able to move into long-term care and didn't, have to be fully in the ICU or the
Yeah,
hospital that entire time, because it's not a sense of normalcy, but it's less intense, with the hospital lights and the beeping and the
yeah,
medicine.
exactly.
Did they give him 5 months? Like, did they say anything, or was it like, were you expecting like a limited amount of time with your dad left on Earthside? Like, how did that unfold? Like, was there anything shared with you?
It was, boy, it was a roller coaster. So, in the hospital, in the ICU originally, the doctor pulled us aside and said, "You should just let him go. Basically, turn off the machines. He has no hope with this." He wasn't ready. We weren't ready. He wanted to fight. So we said, "We'll fight with you."
Hmm.
Um, and then so he did. He's like, there's gonna be some hope. Like I said, rose-colored glasses, the man with hope and positivity. And so he went into long-term care. Then in July, he needed a pacemaker because when you're paralyzed, it wreaks havoc on your body and it puts so much pressure on so many other organs. He required a pacemaker, and at that point, it was the thought of, I don't think I'm going to make it through this. It was another one of drop everything, and I remember this moment because I was actually in Aspen for a meeting, and it was my son's 13th birthday. My husband was bringing everybody. We were going to take him fishing and celebrate. They were at the airport to meet me when I got the call. He's not going to make it through this. He didn't think he would. He wasn't even sure he wanted to. If it didn't go well, he was ready to say goodbye. So we dropped everything, handed everybody off again. Community is amazing. Take care of the kid for his 13th birthday. And we were by his side again. When we got there, he's like, "I'm not ready. We're gonna do this." He said, I'm not ready. So got him through the pacemaker. And that was a brief moment of hope because we were at a new hospital for that. And a new neurologist came in and was looking at his records and said, "Let me look at this. Maybe there's something we can do." And we're like, "Oh, new hope." He looked at his records and really dug in and he said, "Wow, this is unbelievably severe." Um, but he wasn't ready, meaning he didn't want to turn off the machine because the machine was what was keeping him alive. So he went back to the long-term care. Again, it's an up and down because there's so many problems that are caused by the paralysis when you can't breathe on your own, especially. But paralysis alone has so many challenges on your body. But he kept fighting. Come the fall, he started to question how long he was going to make it. And in the October timeline, so it started in June, in the October timeline, he said, this isn't going to be a life for me long term. And so but he wanted to make it through one more Veterans Day. He was a very proud veteran. So he actually picked the next day to say goodbye. So we knew. And so that's actually how I got connected, if I can tell you, to the Christopher and Dana Reed Foundation, because we knew that he wasn't going to make it. I was already in, okay, how am I going to celebrate his life mode? Like I needed something to look forward to.
Mm.
I needed a mission. And so my mission was going to be to run a marathon for what I thought would be raise money for spinal cord stroke people.
Yeah.
Well, I started digging in, and lo and behold, I couldn't find a spinal cord stroke organization out there. Big surprise.
Yeah.
But something that I wish I had known at the time, or really fully grasped at the time when he was in the hospital. Once you have the spinal cord stroke, it presents like any other spinal cord injury. You're paralyzed, and that's really what you need to treat. So I started researching paralysis organizations and came across the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, which is absolutely amazing. And I recruited a team of, there were 10 of us who were going to go to New York the next year to run, and he was still alive. So I was able to tell him, Dad, we have a team who's going to run in your honor, for the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. And true to who my dad was, and I had to read his lips to figure out what he was saying, he said, make sure they have good shoes. I said, I will make sure they have good shoes, Dad. So everybody did that year and all the years after, but that was really my introduction to them. Had I known, I would have reached out to them so much faster because they do such incredible things. But that's part of the disconnect in information and really not understanding and not realizing spinal cord stroke is spinal cord injury. And there are resources out there, tremendous resources.
Wow. What was the date that Jeff transitioned?
So, bless him, we were supposed to have to say goodbye and turn the machine off on November 13th because November 12th is, I'm sorry, on November 12th because November 11th is
Yeah.
Veterans Day. So November 11th is Veterans Day. November 12th, I mean, we had been there all week. But my mom said, I'm going to sleep here with, I'm going to be at the hospital his last night here. And thank goodness she was, because they had turned off the pacemaker the day before. They have to, hospice was amazing, and they have to do all the things to prep. Well, my dad saved us from having to turn off the machine because after the pacemaker was off, his heart gave out during the night. So my mom was there and it saved us. So that was good.
November 13th was the day?
It was November 12th of 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
And may Jeff's memory be a blessing.
Thank you.
Was he able, because he was paralyzed, was he able to talk, or was he like
He had to read his lips because he couldn't really speak. There was no sound. So
Yeah.
because he was on a breathing
Yeah, yeah,
machine. So we got really good at reading his lips. His
Okay.
friends originally made us this amazing board, like 5 letters per line. And so we'd say, I mean, talk about the patience involved. We'd say, okay, what line is it? This letter, blinking. Line 1, this letter.
Yeah.
And eventually we got better at reading, much better at reading his lips. But my dad wasn't exactly known as a patient individual. He was always going. I mean, running. That's the
Yeah.
pickleball, the racquetball, literally the running. He ran marathons. That's why I chose that to honor his memory. He was just a go, go, go. So for him to just be laying there and have to blink and be patient with us as we're like, no, that's not what I'm trying to say. But we got very, very good at communicating with him. He was able to tell us stories, and that, I mean, we had that time with him, so we were very, very fortunate for that. But he learned patience too.
I mean,
He was
that's
so gracious. He
yeah.
really was.
Wow, that's a lot. And like I think about your story and like the 5-month fight, and I think about my parents. Like my mom learned she had cancer, didn't feel good, and like went to the hospital and they're like, Sharon, you have 2 weeks left to live. And she said to me, Blair, I'm in so much pain. I'm like, you don't need to hold on. Like, just don't be in pain. And she, from that moment, died 3 days later. She waited till my sister came and then a couple days later gone. Where my dad, he was terminally ill with COPD and lung cancer. And they're like, you have a year and a half to 2 years left to live. And he lived for 3.5 years. He outlived my mom because he just didn't want to die. He was like, nope. And even in the very end, he's sitting there in the hospital with the rabbi and he's no longer eating or drinking, getting out of bed. Like he was basically a couple days later, he died. And the rabbi says, Leonard, what are you holding on to? Like, it's time to go. Like, why won't you let go? And he's like, and in Canada, we have like free healthcare. Like, I say free because we pay taxes, but like, my dad's like, why would I go anywhere? I get 3 square meals a day and free Wi-Fi. Just like, there's the difference. There's the fighting till the very end, and then I don't need to fight anymore and letting go. And it's so interesting that you shared that, that 5 month journey and like the last few days of his life, because it's so relatable to me. Like, because I have two parents who had two very different experiences. And it's so interesting because, like, if you would have listened to the first doctor,
We wouldn't have had that time.
you wouldn't have had that time.
At that time. And he was willing to fight and wanted to fight and see
Yeah.
what there must be something out there. And thankfully today there's amazing new developments that help people. It's absolutely incredible what Christopher and Dana Reed Foundation working with companies and scientists have been able to do. I think things truly would have been different, but that's why I do what I do and continue to run for them. So,
And
but because we didn't listen, we had that time. So
right. And like beyond you running for them and raising a gazillion dollars, well, like 225,000, 100,000 plus, you started a whole movement. Like you left your corporate and you started Bold&Zeal. So let's talk about that. Let's talk what is Bold&Zeal, the brand mission. Tell us more about it. If you're watching this, you can see that we're both sporting some Live Bold. By the way, I love this shirt. Like it fits really nice.
isn't it just amazing?
I
It's
love it. I just put it on. I was like, ooh, I like this. I'm gonna I already have an outfit in mind for this weekend.
Oh, I'm so glad.
But she's making a difference, and she's not just running. And so why don't we talk about Bold&Zeal and the mission and what it is?
I would love to. So Bold&Zeal, the name actually came from Baz. Bazerkanian's our name, Baz. So Bold&Zeal is born from our family to help other families. So it truly is a company rooted in helping others. And we have a mission to inspire and enable people to live bold. That's why you'll see live bold on everything. It's it's our mantra.
It's your DNA.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because that's who my dad was. And over the course of running for the Reed Foundation, in 2023, which would have been my ninth marathon then, or eighth or ninth then, I ended up in Achilles surgery instead. And I couldn't believe how much I missed running for them. It had become just a part of who I was. And every year I was engaged with them. I could see the impact we were making. I could hear from their athletes, the paralyzed athletes, how they were benefiting from them, the individuals' lives they were touching. And that became such an important part of who I was that when I couldn't run, wow, did it impact me. And this was 2023. And I started thinking, I want to do something that even when I can't run, we can continue to give back. And so in 2025, I finally had that opportunity. After a 30-year career in healthcare marketing, I had the opportunity to take a step back and thought, this is the time. What can we build? And fortunately, my husband has 30 years in clothing design. And so he knows how to make it. I know how to market it. And we have a family that just wanted to stand behind it. And that's where Bold&Zeal came from. It was actually my son, bless him, who is in college right now, and said, Mom, you can do this. This is the time. Create what you want. And he he came up with the name Bold and Zeal. And it's really a family business. So I have 4 kids. We have one who does everything related to technology, one who does marketing. One of my sons is our photographer. And my daughter, who's my youngest, we say she is our biggest cheerleader, but she also has amazing ideas and she's supporting us. So it's all in the family to help others. We give 10% of every single sale to the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation to help both research. So they say today's care and tomorrow's cure. So they're supporting those families and caregivers now with their National Paralysis Resource Center, helping them get through every day. And then they're certainly investing in cures for the future. And it's already benefiting patients, and it's absolutely amazing to see. So this is my passion. It's in our family DNA, and we believe we make really nice things because my husband does it, and it's what he's done for 30 years now. He's doing it for our benefit, which is fabulous.
I love that, and I think it's so beautiful. And like, so I met you at an Oscars gifting lounge, and there, so I think there was like 150 celebrities and media, maybe even more actually. I don't remember right now what the number, but they were coming through, and I popped up a couple times to see you, and you shared me photos and testimonials, and you had such positive feedback. Do you want to share your story about Jonah?
Yes. So this was the most fortuitous introduction ever. Jonah Leese is an actor for those who don't know, and he was coming through, and he was in the new Superman movie. So obviously, the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation came out of Christopher Reeve, who had been, he was the original Superman. He was in the movies that we grew up with, but he became paralyzed in a horseback riding accident. And then just last year, there was the new Superman movie came out, and Jonah Leese came through our booth, and he was just asking about Bold and Zeal, and I told him about it, and he said, "Oh, I loved Superman. He was my inspiration, and he is why I had the dream to really pursue acting. Loved him, and it was so special for me to get to be in the new Superman." And so he let us record that and share it with the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, which was just wonderful. But it was quite remarkable that he came by our booth, and we were able to have that introduction. And then the same day, there was a producer who came through and heard our story. And her mom had benefited from the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation. Her mom had been paralyzed when she fell, and she reached out to the organization. And so it's a much smaller world, I think, than we think. And it was really wonderful to meet such truly great people who were willing to share their stories with us too. So that was a special day to get to do that a few months into our company. We only launched last October. We actually launched it literally the day that my first return back from Achilles surgery. I was running the Chicago Marathon, and we went live that day. No pressure. Running a marathon and launching a brand in the same day seemed like a good idea. And so it was just a few months after that we were able to be at this amazing Oscars gifting lounge by Heather Mariana, and we were really fortunate to have that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really special, and what a way to launch. And you have a lot of cool things happening. Your 1 year anniversary, you're going to be back in LA for an Emmys gifting lounge, and I just love everything that you're doing. As we wrap up, I just want to say all of her links are in the show notes. But if people are listening and not looking at the show notes, where can people find you? What's your website?
boldandzeal.com. That's it. Right
Bold
there.
and Zeal. BOLDAND Z for you Americans, Z for you Canadians, EAL.com. I
Yes.
always catch myself with the Z and the Z. I love it. I think it's cool. I didn't know that it was BAZ, Baz. But because I was like, Zeal, like you got the zeal. And that makes sense. And I absolutely love it. And so that's really exciting. Now, this happened in 2016, and it feels probably like just yesterday. I can just tell from that emotion. And I know because I had my own experiences with parents where it was 5 and 4 years ago where it feels like just yesterday. What advice do you have for those people out there who may have receiving a similar phone call about a parent or someone they love? What advice do you have for them?
There's light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to go through the journey to get there. So it's okay to feel and be hurt. You're going to be, but find purpose in it. I think finding purpose has been absolutely amazing for me, and being able to bring other people into it. Um, so put one foot in front of the other. We have a tag on our clothes that says, opportunity lies in every step forward. We truly believe put one foot in front of the other and find whatever it takes to get through each day, and it will get better. Not necessarily easier, but different over time for sure.
I love that, Erica. That's brilliant advice. What we define resilience as the ability to bounce forward from a challenging experience because we're not going back. Old school thinking is resilience is bouncing back, but we're not going back, we're going forward. And that can look like lying on the couch ordering ice cream and crying, or it can look like starting Bold and Zeal. It's a spectrum. And I love that. I love the message of resilience that you have, and Jeff is proud of you and everything that you've done.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you for being a guest on our show.
It has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate being able to tell our story.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored that you're here. And to everyone that shared your last half an hour plus a few minutes with us, thank you. Thank you for spending time with us. Just remember, it's okay to not be okay. You will get through those hard times. Take things moment by moment, one step at a time, and let us be that lighthouse in the storm. You are not alone, and you are resilient AF. That's a wrap for another episode of Resilient AF with Blair and Alana. And thank you for listening. Are you feeling inspired to bounce forward?
Let's connect at theglobalresilienceproject.com, where you can read many stories of resilience, buy our books, shop our clothing line, learn more about how to strengthen your resilience muscle, be empowered, and more.
Remember, friends, you are resilient AF.